This story took place a few years ago, and I still won't go in the woods after this. It was just supposed to be a peaceful walk back. A quick 5-mile hike, and I'd be home before it got dark. But you know how that goes, right? You think you're ahead of schedule, but the sun always sets faster than you think. I could feel it as I walked down the dirt trail, the temperature dropping, the light fading. I wasn't too worried. I'd hiked this same trail dozens of times. It wasn't like I was in the middle of nowhere, but something about the air, the way the shadows stretched between the trees, made me uneasy. I started picking up my pace. It wasn't just the darkness. Something else had me on edge. Maybe it was the silence. There were no birds, no rustling leaves, just quiet. The kind of quiet that feels wrong. But I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was just my imagination. As I neared the end of the trail, I felt it again. A shift in the air. Like something had changed. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. But when I glanced around, there was nothing. Just the dimming light and the path winding ahead of me. Then I heard it. A sound just a little out of place. It was soft at first, almost like a thud, followed by a dragging noise. It was too far off to make sense of, but the way it echoed through the trees, it didn't sound right. Maybe it was an animal, I thought. Something big? A deer? But there was something about it that made my heart race in a way it shouldn't have. I kept walking. I couldn't stop now. I wasn't too far from the road, from the main street where there were other people. I just had to get there. And then, I saw him. He was standing in the clearing, not far from the edge of the trail. At first, I thought it was some kind of trick of the light, but no, it wasn't. I froze. My body went cold, like I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It didn't make sense. He was too tall. He was standing there in front of a tree, his body unnaturally thin, his skin almost translucent in the fading light. At least 10 feet tall, his arms too long, his legs bent at awkward angles. His face was stretched. Too long, too wide, like it was pulled too tight over his skull. But his eyes? They were locked on me. Dark and empty, like there was nothing human in them. My heart skipped a beat. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I wanted to run, but my legs were paralyzed, like I couldn't get them to move. He smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It wasn't even a human smile. His lips stretched too wide, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too long, like they didn't belong. It was like he was enjoying the fear that was crawling up my spine. I blinked, trying to clear my head, but when I opened my eyes again, he was closer. Not walking, no. He was sliding. Like his feet weren't really touching the ground, but he was moving so fast, faster than any human should. His body jerked with every step, unnaturally fast, like he was gliding over the dirt. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I couldn't even breathe. The dragging sound came again. Only this time, it was closer. Closer than it should have been. And I realized he was getting closer. His feet were scraping along the ground, his body bending in ways it wasn't supposed to. My pulse was pounding in my ears. My legs were trembling, begging to run, but I couldn't move. He was right there, standing in front of me now, his breath ragged, his eyes never leaving mine. He was so tall. I could feel his presence in every fiber of my being. It was like he was too close, too big, too wrong. I wanted to look away, to close my eyes, but I couldn't. That's when I finally did it. I ran. I don't know how I managed it, but my body just took off. I turned, bolted down the trail, my heart in my throat. I couldn't hear him behind me, but I didn't dare slow down. Every step felt like it might be my last, my feet pounding against the dirt as I ran faster than I ever had. I glanced behind me once, just once, but I didn't see him. I couldn't see anything. The woods around me had become this endless blur, the shadows swallowing the path. My legs were burning, my lungs were on fire, but I kept running, pushing harder, faster, praying to make it to the road, to the safety of the streetlights. I finally broke through the tree line, and there it was, the road, the cars, the lights. I could hear the distant hum of traffic. I wasn't alone anymore. But that feeling, that presence, it was still with me. I stopped, gasping for air, heart pounding in my chest. I turned around, half expecting to see him standing there, just outside the trees, waiting. But there was nothing. Just the dark woods stretching into the distance. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't even begin to process what had just happened. All I knew was that I wasn't safe. Not really. He was still out there, somewhere. Watching. Waiting. And I don't know how, but somehow, I got out. I barely made it out. I don't know what he was. I don't know if he'll ever come back. But I know one thing. I'll never walk in the woods again after dark. Not ever. Because what I saw out there, it wasn't human. And I'm starting to wonder if I was ever meant to leave at all. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel.